David and Mary Mwangi had been married for only 6 months. They lived in a small apartment in South B, Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. It was not big, but it was neat and warm. Mary loved decorating it. She placed small flowers near the window and stuck wedding photos on the wall. Everyone thought they were a happy couple. When they walked to church on Sundays, they held hands and smiled. People admired them and said they are still in their honeymoon stage. But what people didn't see was that behind the closed door, peace did not live there for long. David, in his early 30s, worked in a transport company. He was hardworking and smart, but he was a proud man. He wanted everything done perfectly, and when it wasn't, he became angry. Mary, on the other hand, was calm and soft-spoken. She worked as a school receptionist not far from home. She was cheerful and peaceful. Every morning, she woke early to cook, clean, and iron her husband's shirt before leaving for work. But no matter how much she tried, David always found something to complain about. If the stew was too thick, he frowned. If the rice wasn't hot enough, he pushed the plate aside. And when Mary tried to explain, he shouted instead. Mary tried her best to please him. She always said sorry, even when she was not wrong. At night, after crying quietly, she would kneel down beside the bed and pray, "God, please give us peace in this home." But instead of changing, David grew more distant. He started using silence as punishment. Whenever he was angry, he would not eat or talk at all for days. Then, he began writing short notes instead of speaking. Sometimes, Mary would find papers on the table that said, "Keep my food. Don't disturb me. Iron my shirt." At first, Mary used to cry and beg him to talk. But the more she begged, the prouder he became. Mary felt lonely, even though her husband was right there in the same house. She tried to smile when neighbors passed by, but her eyes told the truth. Day by day, her heart grew tired. She still loved David, but she was beginning to lose her peace. One evening, David came home tired from work. He threw his jacket on the chair and walked straight to the bathroom. When he reached for his towel, it wasn't there. "Mary!" he shouted. "Yes, David," she answered, rushing from the kitchen. "Where is my towel? Why can't you do things properly?" "I'm sorry," she said softly. "I washed it and forgot to hang it back." He ignored her and took another towel without saying another word. Mary felt pain in her heart. She wanted to explain, but his silence was louder than shouting. That night, Mary served dinner. David looked at the food, frowned and said nothing. He went to bed and slept facing the wall, not even saying good night. The next 2 days were the same. He did not talk. He did not smile. Mary tried to greet him each morning, but he either just nodded or simply ignored her. At work, her friend, Lucy Joroge, noticed that Mary looked sad and quiet. During lunch break, Lucy asked her gently, "Mary, are you okay? You look so dull these days." Mary sighed. "We had another argument," she said. "He refused to eat or talk to me, even though I have apologized to him." Lucy shook her head. "How long will you keep begging a man who doesn't want peace?" That question stayed in Mary's heart all day. But from that moment, she learned to protect her peace. When she got home that evening, David was watching TV. She greeted him. He did not reply. She cooked, served him food, and went to sleep without begging. The next morning, David looked surprised. Mary was silent too. He expected her to cry and plead like before, but she didn't. For the first time, He felt her distance. The house was quiet, but this time the silence felt different, heavy and cold. That night, David and Mary slept back to back. No words, no good night, just silence. David had an important job interview the next morning, the one that could change their lives. He was excited about it but too proud to tell Mary. In his heart, he thought, his wife doesn't deserve to know. Let her see I can manage on my own. He wrote down the address, ironed his own shirt and set the alarm for 6 a.m. Then he slept, still angry. Mary woke up before sunrise as usual. She prepared breakfast quietly. She looked at her husband still sleeping and thought, he has an alarm. He'll wake up whenever he wants. She stood by the door for a few seconds, watching him. Her heart was heavy. Softly she whispered, I'm tired, Lord, I'm really tired. Then she closed the door and left for work. Unfortunately, David's alarm never rang. When he opened his eyes, the sunlight was already filling the room. He turned and looked at the wall clock. What? It was 8:47 a.m. His heart dropped. He quickly jumped from bed, ran to the bathroom, and dressed in a hurry. By the time he got to the company, the interview had already finished at 8:30 a.m. When he got back home, he sat on the edge of the bed, his hands covering his face, lamenting, all my preparation, all my plans, gone. For the first time, he felt the full pain of the silence he created. Had it been they were not fighting, Mary would have woken him up, just as she always did before. He looked at her empty side of the bed and whispered, I did this to myself. That evening, Mary came home from work, tired and quiet. She greeted him politely. Good evening. David sat on the sofa and looked down at the floor. He didn't reply, just nodded slowly. She went to the kitchen, cooked and served food on the table. The house was so quiet that the sound of the spoon hitting the plate felt loud. Later that night, David walked to where she was folding clothes. He stood there for a while, then said softly, Mary, I lost the job interview today. She looked up, surprised. I overslept, he continued, and by the time I got there, it was over. If we weren't fighting, I know you would have woken me up. Tears flowed down from Mary's eyes. She didn't speak for a moment. Then she said quietly, David, I'm not your enemy. I just got tired of begging you every time. David looked at her with his swollen eyes and held her hand for the first time in weeks. I'm sorry, Mary. I've been proud and foolish. Please forgive me. She nodded gently. Let's start again, she said. That night, they sat on their bed talking for hours. They talked about their mistakes and how to fix them. They prayed together before sleeping, and for the first time in months, there was peace in their home. Days turned into weeks. David truly changed. He spoke kindly to his wife, smiled more, and even helped with little chores at home. One morning, as Mary prepared for work, she found a small note on the table. It said, Thank you for staying, even when I made it hard. Have learned my lesson. David. Mary smiled and whispered, Thank you, God. Weeks passed, and the Mwangi home slowly changed. There was still noise sometimes, a dropped cup, a burnt chapati, or a forgotten towel, but the sound of anger had disappeared. Even when something went wrong, David took a deep breath before speaking. Mary, he would say calmly, please remember to iron my shirt tomorrow. And she would smile and reply, I will, dear. The change was small, but real. One Saturday morning, David woke up early and made tea for both of them. Mary was surprised. You? Making tea? She laughed softly. David smiled shyly. I'm learning, he said. They sat together on the balcony, sipping their tea and watching the busy South B road below. For the first time, they talked about their dreams, not their problems. Mary shared that she wanted to start a small baking business. David said he wanted to try again for another job interview. Instead of arguing, they encouraged each other. Later that day, they visited Lucy, Mary's friend, to thank her. Lucy laughed when she saw how happy they looked. Eh? I can see peace finally moved into your house, she joked. Mary smiled. Yes, she did. She said, we just had to open the door. 2 months later, David got another interview opportunity. This time, it was at a company in the Westlands. He was both nervous and excited. The night before, he told Mary about it. Please wake me up at 6, he said. She smiled. Don't worry, I will. But that night, there was a power blackout. The alarm didn't work again, just like before. Mary woke up at 6:15 a.m. and found that the alarm light was off. She quickly shook David. Wake up! It's time! He jumped from the bed and laughed nervously. Ah, not again, he said. He dressed quickly, kissed her on the forehead and rushed out the door. This time, he made it to the interview on time. And 1 week later, he received the job offer. When he came home holding the letter, Mary screamed with joy. They hugged tightly. Tears rolled down their faces, but these were tears of joy. That night, as they ate supper, David looked at Mary and said, thank you for not giving up on me, even when I was difficult. Mary smiled. We both learned something, she said. Love is not about who wins an argument. It's about who keeps the peace. David even began writing short notes again, but now they said things like, you look beautiful today. Dinner was delicious. I love you. Their small apartment in South B no longer felt cold and tense. It was warm again, filled with love, happiness, and the smell of fresh chapati. The end. Dear friends, what lessons did you take away from this story? Share your thoughts with me in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next story. Thank you for watching. And remember, every tale carries a lesson if only we choose to listen. Until I bring another true life tale your way, bye-bye.